Hi everybody, I am Heidi from Wright Social and I'm so excited because with me today is one of UK's leading Facebook ad specialists, Depesh Mandalia. How are you going, Depesh?
Very good, thank you. It's been amazing here in Fiji, just loving the weather and location.
It's fantastic, isn't it? We're actually on looking the beach as we're chatting and we've just had 4 hours in the conference room having some intense learning around Facebook ads and what they can do not only for e-commerce store owners but also those seeking to increase their brand profile.
2005, but working with Facebook from around 2014.
2014.
So we had some big successes and that kind of got me involved with different people in Facebook. And then through that, different doors have opened up. So I've worked with the product managers, senior VPs, partner managers, etc. And I think because they recognized we had some great successes with Facebook ads, in 2014 and 15, we were one of the fastest growing small businesses at the time for Facebook. We became a poster child. And that kind of opened up avenues for us to give back and feedback to Facebook, to identify some of the problems, and there are many, that they are still trying to fix. And I think they value the feedback from people who are on the ground and kind of working with a number of different people.
What are some of the bigger challenges that businesses face when they are thinking about, okay, I'd like to now, maybe we're a manufacturing organisation, I work across the agricultural space and we do get a lot of manufacturers, they say, okay, we want to do direct to consumer now. So we're going to move to e-commerce, cut out the dealer and go straight B2C. What challenge is there for an organisation like that going to the e-commerce platform and wanting to use Facebook ads to drive their sales?
Sure, so I mean the challenge with e-com is the first thing is about your product and your proposition and kind of matching your audience's needs and desires versus the product you've got. Like you're either solving a problem or enabling a new opportunity. So which side of that do you fall on? And then how do you identify that for your particular avatar or maybe multiple avatars? And then kind of how do you turn that into performance marketing? So what kind of margins do you have? What kind of targets do you have? And is it achievable within Facebook? So if you're selling, let's say, $1,000 product, then yes, it's sellable, but you're going to have a different marketing journey to selling a $10 product.
Yes.
And I think a lot of companies don't understand that. Some people are put off and they think, you know, my product costs $1,000, I'm not going to be able to sell it. Absolutely you can, you just need to think about the journey differently.
And that's what I loved about your speech too, because it was, you can sell anything online, anyone can sell anything online, but it's about understanding the customer relationship.
Absolutely.
And I recall the example that you talked about, which I absolutely loved, because that photo you put up was the mimic of my dog. So I own a German short-haired pointer and it's a very family dog. And the example was of, okay, one marketer had the collar on the dog and was selling it for $20. Sold it, you know, it's a dog collar,
right.
LED, how cool's this? Another marketer told the brand story and the message was, this will save your dog's life.
Absolutely.
And they could sell that product for $40, $60.
That's right.
Because they understood the value of telling that brand story.
Absolutely. And the thing is, it's the same product, probably selling to the same person, but you know, when you add value to the person, you can also charge them more for it. That's essentially it. So like if you're enabling or solving a big problem for someone and you're clear about what that is, and I talk about the kind of rationality of people versus the irrationality, and there are two parts of the kind of human brain. There's a front part which is logical, and then the back part which is often emotional. And so where I try and pitch my marketing is, how can I find an emotional hook? So with the dog collar LED example, it was, here's a nice looking LED collar for $20, $30 versus this could save your dog's life and it's $50.
Yes.
That you can't calculate. Like, how do you put your mind behind, I'm not going to let my dog die for $50. And then obviously you can create brand stories and visuals based on that.
Yes.
But that's the hook, and that will bring people in.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. And to bring that into the e-commerce model, so it's not just buy now, inquire now, it's that understanding that there's an awareness phase, a likability phase. You know, one of the speakers talked about, I think it was Akbar, authority and being liked. And I think bringing those two factors into the conversation is critical as well. Yeah. How important are knowing your numbers when it comes to, let's talk e-commerce?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, what I try and do is to break it down simply for myself. Like I like to think of things in simple manner, and also for my team and also my clients. Like what I find with clients is generally when you break everything down, they're after revenue and profitability. So they're the things that are going to shift the needle for the business. And some agencies, some freelancers get caught up in explaining CPC, CPM, all these kind of 3-letter acronyms that us marketers are responsible for confusing customers with.
Yes.
And there's just such a simpler way to explain it to customers, clients, as to like, this is our core metric, which aligns with yours, and this is how we break it down to achieve that number. You don't need to worry about all the inner details, because that's what you hire us for, right? To solve the problem with Facebook and help you with conversion and identifying your market and doing research. But ultimately, we're going to work on the same metrics, whether it's return on ad spend or cost per acquisition or profitability or revenue growth. That will work directly with you. But the rest of it is, I think it's our responsibility as agency owners and freelancers to explain it in as simple a manner as we can.
Absolutely. And I get calls to say, they'll do a Google research on ROS and they'll be like, okay, so 10x, we want 10x return on ad spend. And it's really difficult to explain that, well, it's actually taking the whole funnel into consideration.
Absolutely.
It's not just the bottom of funnel where we'll get that high return on ad spend.
Absolutely.
So it was really great to hear you break it down. Average order value and cost per acquisition,
right.
I think were the key components, and then breaking that down further.
Absolutely.
And then that allows you to see where the bottlenecks are. So if you've mapped it out that way and you know your figures, then you can start to work out, well, if something's not working, let's just backtrack and work out what it is.
Yeah, I mean, like if you've got, let's break it down. So return on ad spend, let's say you've got an AOV of $100 and your cost per acquisition is $10, that's 10x right there.
Yes.
Now, if you want 15x, you can actually get that without touching Facebook. Keep your acquisition costs at 10, but now start bundling and upselling, get your AOV to 150, now you've got 15x.
Yes.
And it's as simple as that. Now, obviously in practical terms, there's things that you have to test and learn.
Yes.
But the thing I try and focus people on is, are you going to influence the Facebook numbers, which is difficult, or are you going to try and work on the store numbers, which is easier?
And it's what we control as marketers too.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's brilliant. Where do you think Facebook is going to be in 2000 and let's say in 5 years? Maybe not where it's going to be, but what will Facebook look like in your opinion?
So I think there's some hurdles Facebook needs to overcome first around privacy and data. So they're things that are going to be interesting to see how it pans out in the next few years.
Yes.
But Facebook are already telling us they're looking at augmented reality, virtual reality, kind of bringing kind of messaging more into the fore. So they're focusing on unifying WhatsApp and Messenger and Instagram direct mail. And I think there's going to be an interesting play on how important is the news feed versus private messaging.
Yes.
And I think Facebook are trying to counter all the concerns about kind of political companies hacking the system and influencing the world essentially. And so I think the clear answer right now is it depends on what Facebook will tackle over the next 12 to 24 months.
Yes.
But I think Facebook still has a lot of longevity to go. I cannot imagine a world without Facebook. Like, Facebook is such an integral part of our community now, as a global community for the world. Like, I just cannot imagine us not being able to communicate the way we do with Facebook. Maybe a competitor comes up, I just cannot see it. Like, Facebook is so ingrained into everything, and it's not just the Facebook platform, it's WhatsApp, it's Instagram, it's Messenger, and there's just so many different components to this.
Yes.
And I own an Oculus headset, which is
can you
also
explain what that is?
So this is a Facebook virtual reality headset. So Facebook purchased a company called Oculus.
Yes.
Oculus have this headset, you plug yourself in, and you can go into these virtual worlds, you can play games, watch movies, do challenges. You could go out and explore different parts of the world. Like, it's so fascinating.
Wow.
You can go out into the oceans, you can go deep into the ocean, you can go swim with fish. It's just like the experiences that are unbelievable. So you can now I went, so I actually went to visit Vegas for the first time in January. But last year, I actually went virtually to visit Vegas. And that was like such an insane experience, having virtually visited all these places. Then I physically went there as well.
And what was the difference between the experiences? I mean, obviously the feel touch factor, the sensors and whatnot.
But it felt familiar. Like, it's a weird thing to say, but I went somewhere for the first time and it felt familiar. And it's just a crazy thing.
So that could apply in so many different ways. I mean, if you think about what developing that relationship is with the customer, it's about getting know, like, and trust,
Absolutely.
and to think that we can bring that in that way without someone actually having to get out of their chair, or out of their beach seat. If we bring it into the relevance of where we are now,
Absolutely.
that's pretty amazing. If you've been Fiji but been Vegas as well.
And you know, thinking about how you could monetize this, or maybe how Facebook are looking to monetize this.
Yeah.
How could you potentially, let's say in a year or 2 years' time, create a virtual experience for people to experience your product or service?
Yes,
So if, for example, you're selling a resort like this, you could give people a virtual tour before they even book, and give them the experience, like you know, if there's a horse ride on a beach, for example, or you know, there's a band playing at night, you can give them that experience.
Yes.
So it almost feels like they've already got it, and it feels familiar, so that when you then start to try and sell it, they've already experienced it. So I think there's just so many possibilities.
So exciting, so exciting. And your mission now today is to help entrepreneurs be empowered to do their best.
Absolutely.
And to punch above their weight.
Absolutely, because I think Facebook have enabled small businesses to compete with the big billion-dollar corporations, and I think it's just such an amazing level playing field.
Yes.
You know, if you go back 3, 4, 5 years, I helped a startup go from 800K a year to 26.5 million in the space of 18 months.
Wow.
Like, I don't think there's any other advertising platform that allows you to do that in such a targeted way.
Yes.
And for me, Facebook, and this is why I went from being a general marketer to going all in on Facebook, because I just think there's still so much more untapped potential for so many different businesses. But it's about getting the components right. So, you know, I talk about, for example, you can have a great product and a bad offer, and no one's going to know that you've got great products. You can have a bad product and a great offer, but they're not going to come back and buy from you. So it's about getting the balance right. So have a great product, build a great offer around it, find the audience, and have a great sales funnel. And once you've got those core things in place, Facebook will deliver.
And I recall you likening being a funnel builder, so to speak. I won't call you a funnel builder because you know funnels, but you're more focused on that genuine, you know, brand journey of the customer, and then building the digital infrastructure around that, if you like, to facilitate the purchase. But chef. You talked about you always wanted to be a chef.
That's right.
And then you went to college, and then you had a corporate life, and then you came into the Facebook ad scene.
That's right. And
I love the way you explained about Facebook marketing is sort of like being a chef. You can still be creative, but you've got to know the principles of good cooking or good marketing.
And so, like, the analogy I often share is, I love pizza. I've tried so many different pizzas. Until I went to Italy and had a fresh kind of tomato-based and fresh vegetable pizza, I didn't really know how good a pizza could be. Now, the fact is, the pizza I have back home is the same ingredients and same recipe, right? It's the same base and dough and all that. Ingredients were completely different because the quality of what I had was different. And so, like, the same goes with your marketing. You can have 2 agencies that are offering similar services, and you know, they have the same ingredients for success, but one agency have done it time and time again. They're so good at it that they can nail it and hit it out of the park. And you know, this is one thing I try and get clients to understand is, you can get a cheaper agency, but do you want one that's going to actually deliver results because they've done it so many times before as well?
Yes, exactly. Experience counts so much with that.
That's right.
I guess one other thing that I'm interested in hearing from you also, I think I recall a podcast with, it was a Trevor or a Travis, I'm sorry, my memory is failing me with all this intense learning.
Of course.
But he talked about the most active group of Facebook users. When I say active, I mean passive users, over 45-year-olds, and they're women. And he was talking about that demographic not necessarily being high engagers, but their duration of use. So they're looking, they're scanning, and they're the informers, right, to their decision makers in my market, whereby I work across, you know, the agricultural niche. So those people wanting to get in front of the agri-rural market with their product and solution, that's sort of how I help them. And a lot of, you know, the organisations I come across in the space, they say, oh, my audience isn't on Facebook. I mean, their future market is, but that's not what is putting cash in their pocket right now, right? So maybe they don't have to think about it. But it was really fascinating to see that this demographic was actually a quite, well, biggest user, you know, of the platform, at least the stat back then in the podcast it was. Have you seen any results working within that older demographic with some of the clients that you've worked with?
So actually interesting, the company I talked about, taken to 26.5 million, we were selling a children's book. So who buys children's books? Parents, uncles, aunts, but who's got the biggest expendable income? It's grandparents. So actually, interestingly, when we first started testing in the US, our most lucrative market was the 55 plus market in places like Florida, because there's loads of retired grandparents there, right? And so like our cost per acquisition was really low because they were being neglected. No one was really marketing to them. This is like 2014, 2015, where people are like, old people are not online, right? Well, we found them.
Interesting.
And that comes through,
example.
and then that just comes through having an open mind. So when I go through testing, I try and leave any of my expectations and views on what will work and just leave it to testing. Even if a client says this is our market, we'll still do testing outside of it just to see what happens. Let the data decide. Let the
data drive the decisions. They don't lie, do they?
That's right.
I always say, you know, when clients come to me, I say we've got to first identify the digital opportunity, so we know what we're actually looking at, and then we've got to map out the strategy. And then yes, we need the resources to execute, but we also need to understand accountability to the strategy, because without any accountability, there's no return on investment, because we don't know what we're really looking at. So that's a great example to reflect on for me and in my market.
Absolutely.
Well, Depesh, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, it's been a pleasure to get to know you and your beautiful wife who follows you everywhere. And I love that you bring her into your presentations. It's so fantastic. And where can people learn more about you? An entrepreneur out there, if you're looking to, you know, scale up and do good things in an ethical and authentic way, I think this guy is going to change things in your business. I'd love to share how people can find more about you.
Sure, so my website, depeshmandalia.com, depeshmandalia.com. There's some case studies and kind of information. So one of the things I'm trying to do right now is kind of give a lot more free content to plug the gap between the level of service that Facebook give and the kind of knowledge gap with small business owners. So I've got a YouTube channel, I've got kind of content and pieces on my website. I have my own group. I also contribute in other groups as well, because I just want to give, like, my big goal is to reach tens of thousands of businesses, and I can't do it with my agency alone, but I can do it with all my material and support I give outside of that as well. So
fantastic. That is brilliant. And I just still can't get over the fact that, you know, the blueprint of Facebook, you know, the stuff that we Google and say, how do we do this Facebook? This guy helps Facebook do that. So absolute pleasure to chat with you today.
Thank
Thanks
you
again.
Appreciate it.
See ya.